We're going to do one more kinematics quick review, and it's simply going to be a car that's moving to the right, and you're going to say, look, my car starts off with an initial velocity of 20 meters per second, and the car is accelerating at 5 meters per second squared. That means every second its speed is going to increase by 5 meters per second. So 1 second later, this car is going to be traveling at 25 meters per second. Then another second later, it's going to be traveling at 30 meters per second. Then another second later, it's going to be traveling at 35 meters per second. So it's increasing its speed by 5 meters per second every second. So they give you a problem and they say, okay, how fast is this ball traveling? Sorry, how fast is this car traveling after 5 seconds? So they say the time is 5 seconds, and they say, what's the velocity of this car? What's its final velocity? So you can do it mathematically, conceptually, and you can say, okay, 5 seconds, sorry, this should say seconds. You can say, how fast is this car traveling 5 seconds later? Well, 1 second later, it's increasing by 5 meters per second every second. So 1 second later, it's traveling at 25. 2 seconds later, it's traveling at 30. 3 seconds later, it's traveling at 35. 4 seconds later, it's traveling at 45 seconds later, it's traveling at 45. You can do it that way and say 5 seconds later, that's its velocity. Or you can simply use one of your kinematics equations. You say final velocity is equals to initial velocity plus acceleration times time. Your final velocity is going to be solved by putting your initial velocity is 20 meters per second. Your acceleration is 5 meters per second squared. And your time is 5 seconds. So you can simply do the math and say, okay, this comes out to be 20 meters per second. And 5 meters per second squared times 5 seconds. The seconds over here cancels out one of the seconds, so you're left with meters per second. Good, because you want to be left with meters per second, so you can add it to this meters per second. And 5 times 5 is 25, so 25 meters per second. And when you add it up, it comes out to be 45 meters per second, just like it did if you did it conceptually. So you can use your kinematics equation just to verify your answers, or you can do your come up with your answers using your kinematics equations and then verify it using your concepts.